My gosh, is there a lot to talk about this Champions League round. We had a bunch of upsets that I completely did not expect. If y'all saw my other prediction video, y'all gonna realize, wow, this guy was completely off. His ball knowledge is in the mud. I was nowhere near some of these results, and some others, they're kind of predicted, but there were some things that happened that were completely unpredictable, and then they shouldn't even be in the cards for happening. But without further ado, let's go ahead and start with this overview of this first leg, my reaction to this first leg of the Champions League knockout stages, and my prediction on what's going to happen for the second leg. So let's go ahead and begin with the Newcastle versus Karabakh. We kind of had an idea that this game was going to be quite easy for Newcastle. Newcastle in league, they haven't looked the greatest. Anthony Gordon especially, who scored 4 goals, has not looked the greatest either. But he's over here stat padding. I believe he had like 6 goals in the Champions League. 4 of them came against Karabakh. Newcastle, honestly, I had them winning 3-1. I generally thought that a 6-1 would be possible. So they did what they needed to do. They did what they had to do. They'll probably get through. Poor Karabakh is not going to be able to make it. And they're going to be facing either Chelsea or Barcelona. Barcelona, who they've already faced them in the Champions League. They actually lost 2-1. And Chelsea, whom, I mean, they play them regularly. Of course, Chelsea, it's a completely new Chelsea. I don't think they've played each other yet. But Newcastle can already start resting players this coming week. Moving on to Borussia Dortmund versus Atalanta. I'm going by games that I didn't see much action in. This one I only saw the highlights because of course you had PSG and Real Madrid playing at the same time, which is unfortunate. I really had high hopes for this game too, but it just seems like Borussia Dortmund completely pinned Atalanta down, did what they wanted to them, and Atalanta unresponsible at all. As we're going to see a trend with the Serie A team. Sadly, I had Atalanta winning 2-1. And with the way that Dortmund was able to completely dominate Atalanta, I see it completely impossible for them to go to Bergamo and make a comeback, beating Borussia Dortmund 3-0 and 3-2 on aggregate. So the reality is I see Borussia Dortmund going through. Now, talking about Borussia Dortmund, I talked about how inconsistent they were, how unorganized they were, but they seem to have found a style of play in which they look a lot more organized, in which they know their strengths. They're a tall team. I was watching a TikTok. Yes, I watch football through TikTok. Leave me alone. But anyways, they pointed out that their team was basically, all of them were over like 6 foot. They were quite giant of a team, and they are using that to an advantage. Guirassy, one of the best headers of the ball, puts a great strike off a corner. I mean, this team, it's massive. How far can this take them? I don't know. They're gonna be facing either Arsenal or Bayern Munich, two of the favorites to win the Champions League, to win the whole thing. We'll see how they do against them. But Borussia Dortmund, I think going to the round of 16 is not a bad achievement for them, considering how poor they were in this Champions League phase format. Moving on to the Leverkusen versus Olympiacos game, and once again, I had a draw in this game. I think I had a 1-1 or 0-0, and although both teams had their chances, Leverkusen, similar to that first game that they had in the June stage, had chances, and in difference to this, they actually put them away. Of course, as I said, I've been watching the highlights, and Olympiacos once again got saved by that goalkeeper. I don't know what his name is, but my gosh, is that guy performing above his standards. Get him a paycheck, get him a move, man. He looked incredible. Between the sticks, Solaskis, Olympiacos, they were set out to, they're gonna be the weaker side. They were gonna be the team that was gonna depend on that counter attack, that was gonna depend on that aerial ball to cause damage to his Leverkusen side and potentially get a result similar to how they got a result in the first in the league table. In contrast, though, in the league table, Leverkusen did not use the chances that they were given. And in this game itself, Leverkusen could have scored way more, but as I said, the goalkeeper was crazy, and the strikers, he was ineffective in front of goal. I think he had like 2 chances. He had a one-on-one he completely missed, and that could have costed, oh, his name is Poco, that could have costed Leverkusen the match. As we saw, Olympiacos was able to get a goal, but luckily for Leverkusen, they were offside. But this could have hit the Leverkusen team quite hard. But eventually, Patrick Schick comes in and scores a brace, almost scores a hat-trick. He was able to finish the chances that he was given. I really don't think this Olympiacos team has what it takes. As I said, this was the game for Olympiacos to kind of give himself a leeway coming into this match. But I mean, now they're 2-0 down. They barely created many chances when they were home. I doubt they're going to be able to create many more once they're away. I actually have this being a 2-1 victory for Leverkusen. Yes, I think they can score at least 1 Olympiacos. On aggregate, it would be a 4-1. And yeah, Leverkusen will be also facing either Bayern Munich or Arsenal. Moving on to one of the bigger upsets of this whole knockout stage, Bodo Glimt scoring 3 past Inter Milan. Now, in my prediction, I had Inter Milan, I believe it was drawing or winning the game. And I believe in my prediction, I said I don't see Bodo Glimt being able to score 2 goals past Inter Milan. I was completely proven wrong. Bodo Glimt played incredibly good football to score their multiple goals that they were able to get on Inter Milan, and they get a 3-1 result. Inter Milan looked tired. Inter Milan looked disorganized, and they didn't even rotate their team. There's basically their starting lineup. Of course, Thuram wasn't starting, but it's not like Esposito's a bum, so it was a good lineup. Now, what I will say, and what many teams have noticed, right, is that there is a difference in playing in AstroTurf and playing in like below freezing levels. And you could notice that. You can notice how in the second half, Inter Milan didn't have the legs, they didn't have the mental capacity, whether they were tired, whether they're comfortable or whatever. They didn't have that ability to keep tracking the runs that Bodo Glimt was able to do. And Bodo Glimt kept running, kept pressuring, kept playing like normal, right? And of course, they're accustomed to this environment, and there's no excuses for Inter Milan. But I mean, Bodo Glimt had an advantage. They used it very wisely, and they were able to get a two goal lead on Inter Milan going into San Siro. Now the question is, can Inter Milan win this match? This is a tough one, right? They need to score 3 goals to advance, and they have to concede 0. I reckon they can concede 0. Question is, can they do that and also chase a 2-goal deficit? I think Inter Milan is gonna achieve a 3-1 victory as well at home, and it's gonna be a 3-1 victory. I don't know if Inter Milan has them in it to come into the extra time and be able to get a goal there. So I see this game going into penalties, and who knows, from there on it's completely a coin flip. I would say Inter Milan go through, but like I said, it's Inter Milan, right? But I have to go with Inter Milan for this one. I mean, the quality that they have to shoot the penalties, whether it's on the bench or on the field, is better than Bodo Glimt's. So I give this going to penalties, and Inter Milan going on to the next phase, which they would be facing either Manchester City or Sporting. Now we're getting into the bangers. Let's go ahead and start with the PSG versus Monaco game. As I said this was gonna be a fodder. I compared it to the Brest game. This was nothing like it. I was talking to my friends, boys, we should see the Real Madrid versus Benfica game, or the Borussia Dortmund versus Atalanta game, and they're like, no man, you gotta see PSG versus Monaco. And at first I went with the Benfica Madrid game and the Dortmund Atalanta game, but then they started texting, wow, 1-0 Monaco, 2-0 Monaco. I had to switch the channel, and my gosh, was I happy to see that match. First of all, wow. I mean, defensively, PSG came in completely sleepy. They got hit on the counter. They did silly mistakes. Marquinhos, I don't know what he was doing in that first goal. And Balogun, I mean, he abused his space. He abused the space that he was given. And he put two past whoever the goalkeeper for PSG is, because I have so many at this point, right? But he puts two past. He does his job. And it was down for Monaco to focus and lock up things, man. But PSG turn up, they put the pressure on, they get a penalty, Vitinha misses, right? And then you see Ousmane Dembele gets up down to 26 minute. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this in the video, but there was a scuffle between Dembele and Luis Enrique after the Rennes game where they lost 3-1. And, you know, I said that there could be cause of tension, but I said this wasn't going to be enough to get this PSG to completely suffocate under pressure, right? Well, I thought I was completely wrong at first, right? But Dembele comes out. Apparently it's for an injury, but of course, after a scuffle like that, you get subbed out in around the 20th, 26th minute. People are going to talk. There's going to be questions on whether or not that was actually the reason. Was there an injury or not? But at the end of the day, Doué comes in for Dembele. And wow, what a performance by Doué. This guy loves the Champions League. Within the first half, he gets already 2 goals. And then he goes ahead and basically gives an assist to Hakimi, getting a shot off. And the keeper for Monaco, all he can do is parries it into Hakimi's path. And there we go. 3-2, PSG to make the comeback. And this is why teams are scared of PSG, because their attack is frightening, because the way they're able to switch on like that is frightening. Because when their defense wants to play ball, they will defend well and they will play ball. That's exactly why PSG is feared, and why PSG could be one of the finalists if things were to come. Now, PSG is going to be taking this lead home to the Parc de France, I'm sorry. And I don't see PSG letting this game go. I see PSG being able to score 2 goals on Monaco. Maybe Monaco is able to score 1. But yeah, I'll keep it like that. A 2-0 victory for PSG at home. And a 5-2 on aggregate for PSG going through and facing either Barcelona or Chelsea. Moving on to the final Italian team to be in these knockout stages, Juventus versus Galatasaray. I had very high stocks. I had stocks on Juventus. I said I liked the way that they had been playing in the Serie A recently. And maybe a hot take, sorry. But I like the way that they started with the first 45 minutes. I think they played good football. They had 11 men on the field. Yes, Yilmaz was absolutely running circles past Cambiaso and could not stop him at all. But Juventus, when it came to attacking, they looked frightening, they looked scary, and they didn't even have a 9 on the pitch. I think Jonathan David was injured, and they didn't even start Openda or Vlahovic up there. They instead had the Americans down, which I think he also did a good game. Of course, we can't ignore Galatasaray. They were able to get scuffy goals in the first 45, and Juventus comebacks. Great cross by Cambiaso. Kalulu, great header in, and the ricochet falls onto Coop Miners, and then Coop Miners was able to get his second goal. Great strike. Juventus go up with a 2-1 victory. They've been playing good football in the first 45 minutes. And they just have to keep playing that football, having that ball under control, not allowing Galatasaray to hit them with those counters and stuff, and defend Yilmaz a bit better. So to do this, Cambiaso comes out. He's on a yellow, reasonable. Cabral comes in, and immediately Juventus concede a Noah Lang, another scuffed goal. Poor defending, poor pairing, poor goalkeeping by Di Gregorio, who I think he's been a good keeper, great keeper for Juventus, but it's a small mistake, lands on Loa Lang's feet, and there you go. It's 2-2, things have changed, and now Juventus is once again drawn with Galatasaray. And once again, Galatasaray start abusing the headers. They have players that can head the ball, like Victor Osimhen, players like Sanchez, Roca Sanchez, Davinson Sanchez. And once again, as I said before in the last video, I was concerned with the aerial problem, with the aerial ability of this Juventus team. Although they have a tall squad, Thuram was there and all of that. This is not a good aerial team. They're quite bad at defending aerial ball, even though you have big fellas. And it didn't help that you had Bremer come out injured in the first couple minutes. So you're already losing one of your best aerial defenders. So Juventus from then on out, 3-2, they're down and they're chasing the game. And Cabral gets a second yellow card, right? Same foul that he did before. Pulls him down. Same foul that Cambiaso did on Yilmaz also. Pulls him down, and it's a red card, and Juventus are back down by 10 men. They have 1 goal less, and McKennie has to drop back to be the new left back. From then on, it was carnage. Galatasaray completely turn on the Jets, completely turn on. They bring in Leroy Sané, they bring in attacking players, offensive players, with the intent to kill off the game, the intent to destroy this Juventus side. They pull a big move, right? Because this could easily have backfire, right? Juventus, as I said, have the quality to attack, but Galatasaray took the risk. And my gosh, did it pay off. They scored 1 and then another, and then 5-2 the score for Juventus. Juventus 5 goals down. 3 goals down going into the Allianz Stadium in Italy. So can this Juventus side come back to this Galatasaray team? No, I don't think so. First of all, Cambiaso, he got a yellow. I believe he was on. If he got another yellow, he wouldn't have been able to play this next upcoming match, which he did get a yellow, so he can't play it. And you don't have Cabral now, so who the heck are you gonna put on that left back position? Also, Bremer is injured. Your best defender is injured. What in the world are you gonna do? So you now have to adjust, probably pulling Kalulu right there, or Federico Gatti, or whoever. You got to plug in a new center back who is nowhere near the level of Bremer, next to Kelly, who was absolutely dreadful in that game, of makeshift midfield, and I don't even think they have a striker to play. So you are completely weak. Juventus, I don't see them scoring 3 goals. I simply don't. I see Galatasaray being able to score 1. I think this game might end 2-1 for Juventus, but I don't see Juventus being able to beat Galatasaray. This means that I have Galatasaray, of course, going through with a 6-4 victory over the mighty Juventus, the Vieja Senora. That means they will be facing either Liverpool or Tottenham. We'll see who Galatasaray is able to get if they get through to the round of 16. Next up, Atletico Madrid versus Club Brugge. I said it in the prediction. This game, I saw Club Brugge being able to win it. I believe I had Atletico Madrid being able to win it like 1-0 or 2-1. But what a game. Atletico Madrid came in guns blazing. They were able to get 2 goals, a penalty and another goal within the first half. And it seemed like Atletico Madrid, they were going to be able to cruise. But as I said, Club Brugge has given some crazy stuff. Club Brugge has a great team, and they can definitely cause damage. Atletico Madrid falls asleep, and all of a sudden it's 2-2. And Atletico Madrid is basically, they just threw away their 2-0 victory. And boom, once again, they score. It seems like it's going to end like that. And Club Brugge, once again, Onyedika puts a great ball into Solis, and Solis actually puts that away. Now let's go ahead and talk about what I think the issue is. This Atletico Madrid is really good. defensively, there are no bumps, right? It's not like this team has freaking 2019 Maguire at defense, right? This is not a joke of a defense. They have great defenders back there. Marco Llorente. Of course, even the attackers are great defenders. So this is a manager issue. And I said it before, right? Clearly, it's Atletico Madrid, this Simeone team. Simeone is going through a transition of trying to be more proactive, be more offensive. He hasn't gotten that equilibrium between attack and defense. And overall, this Atletico Madrid team looks completely unorganized in defense. When I see Atletico Madrid defend, I don't see them knowing their spots. I don't see them putting attention into where they're going. They're kind of just ball watching and just clutter up the middle. Don't let them get anything through. Not really a thought behind it. It's kind of just, I'm in the box. That's it. They're not going to get through us. That's what I see with Atletico Madrid. And it's kind of surprising. I think Simeone, he just has to strike that balance. And this Atletico Madrid could actually look very threatening. But this is kind of what I noticed with this Atletico Madrid. And yeah, it happened what had to happen. I mean, Club Brugge noticed those difficulties in defense for Atletico Madrid, completely abused them, caused them to go all over the place, and are able to get a 3-3 result against Atletico Madrid. Now they're going to be going against Atletico Madrid in Madrid in the Wanda Metropolitano. Let's see what they're able to do. Now my prediction for this upcoming game, it's basically a 0-0 coming out of the start. With the amount of goals that are getting conceded by Atletico Madrid, I think it's a 2-1 victory for Atletico Madrid. I reckon they're going to be able to get through, but it is going to be scrappy. And as I said beforehand, I would not be surprised if Club Brugge are able to get through into the next round. But they would be going also against against Liverpool or Tottenham, whichever of these two teams that get through. Now the final match, Real Madrid versus Benfica. This was a great match. Let's go ahead and start with the footballing aspect, because unless you're living under a rock, there's a lot more that happened in this game than just football. I believe Real Madrid start off for first 10 minutes. They just didn't look like they were there. They looked like the Real Madrid of old, right? Of these couple, not even old, man, of this recent Real Madrid. They looked unchanged, right? We didn't know what we're doing. No lack of intensity or intent on our passes or whatever. And we slowly got back into the game. Trent Alexander started grabbing the ball. You saw Valverde grabbing the ball. Camavinga, Tchouaméni played an incredible game. That midfield was very strong against Benfica. And we start taking hold of a game. We start to nullify Benfica. Benfica starts going back. We start getting more time on the ball. And it gets a bit, of course, it gets harder to get through to the back of the line, right? Get through to the goal. But then you see chances, you know, Mbappe gets an opportunity. You see a couple runs from Vinicius where he's able to put the ball in to the box and see if there's anybody that can knock it in. So overall, I think it was a great game by Real Madrid. And then, of course, this golazo comes in from Vinicius Junior from the right-hand side of from the left-hand side. He cuts inside, and wow, this goal was absolutely beautiful. I mean, the way that he was able to bend that ball was incredible. And I mean, talking about incredible goals, right? And Vinicius Junior, on the other side, you got Mbappe, who, as I said before, right, it seems like they both can't play together, because Vinicius had a great game and Mbappe had a poor game. He had some shots, right? But he was never in the box. As I said, Vinicius was doing great runs down the line and putting the ball into the box, and nobody was there to knock it. Mbappe was at the edge of the box waiting for something or whatever, and as I said, nobody was there to get it. But if Mbappe's not going to do those type of runs, and we're going to have Vinicius Jr. making those great plays down the line and putting those balls in, I don't know, get Valverde to get involved, or get Camavinga, or get a right winger to get involved, because we're completely wasting the opportunities that Vinicius is able to give us. This game should not have been a 1-0 victory over Benfica. It would have been a lot better to get a 2 or 3 goal lead on this Benfica side. But yeah, great game by the team. Mbappe was a bit underwhelming. Golazo by Vinicius Jr. And Vinicius Junior starts dancing. He does a celebration. He starts going like this, showing the name of his shirt. And, you know, he gets a yellow card. First of all, why is he getting a yellow card, right? How many guys have we seen? How many players have we seen celebrate like this, celebrating in the corner flag? Literally, Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, Neymar, all of these players celebrate like that, right? Vinicius Junior has always celebrated like that, right? And he gets a yellow card. I have no idea why he got a yellow card, but okay. Apparently, it was provocation. Ridiculous. But that kind of gets the A stadium angry, which is part of the game. You're getting scored on, right? You're not gonna be freaking clapping if you get scored on unless it's an absolute beauty, which it was an absolute beauty. You don't expect them to be clapping for Vinicius Junior in general, right? But then this Argentinian player, Palestri, right? He comes up and he starts getting to a brawl with Vinicius Junior, blah 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 blah. And he starts talking, telling him, monkey, right? We know what happened, or we don't know, right? But we know what has been going around the media about Palestri calling him the monkey, calling him F word, calling him all sorts of stuff. Is not good, right? First of all, Palestri, why are you resorting to either racism or homophobia to insult Vinicius Junior? What's the point? Oh, because of the love of the game. Brother, you can insult them in many other ways, bruh. Like, what are you thinking? You know, and he knew. He covered his mouth so that he couldn't been seen. Nothing but the worst for Palestri, right? This guy, he keeps pretending like he never said anything. He covered his little mouth. Oh, ho, 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 there's no evidence against me. He's just a little bitch. He's just a little puh, right? He couldn't stop Vinny Jr. Vinny Jr. continued doing his thing. And he had to resort to bullshit like this, right? It's truly disgusting what this motherfucker was able to, what is doing. And it's disgusting. Well, you can't really, Benfica thinks it's gonna take the side of this guy, right? But things will come for him, right? Palestri's not gonna get away with this. We know he's not gonna get away with this. And he'll probably be at the Bernabeu, where he'll hopefully get chopped down by Rudiger, by Dean Huijsen, by Tchouaméni, by all of these players, and teach him a lesson, because he deserved it. But my gosh, was it incredible that Vinicius Junior was able to get that golazo and rub it all over his face. Anyways, let's move on to what Mourinho said on Vinicius Junior. He stated that he shouldn't have celebrated like that in front of the Benfica fans. And, you know, a lot of the Madridista community has huge respect for this guy, for what he did for the club. But Mourinho, what the heck is wrong with you? Are you brain dead? This is like the blind leading the blind. How are you going to be criticizing Vinicius Jr. for celebrating like that? And kind of insinuating that he looked for it. When we know the celebrations that Mourinho has been doing. He's, if anything, the biggest rage baiter in football history. Do we not remember this? Do we not remember when he was running around the Camp Nou? Do we not remember the press conference that he would give? Come on, man. Like, this guy is a hypocrite, and it's crazy how he, I don't know, man. I generally, like, I'm kind of surprised that he decided to back this situation out of all the other situations, right? And that he was, this was his justification for this whole thing, right? I understand you gotta defend your player and everything, but to do it this way and in this situation, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to think about Mourinho anymore. But yeah, that's gonna be it. Bye la Vini. Bye la Vini. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I see Benfica not being able to go through, but Madrid going through and facing either City or Sporting. But yeah, see y'all next week.